Hello, Namaste, Sasrikal, good evening. Welcome to the S.S.Chandhok talk show. I'm your host and moderator, S.S. Chandhok. Today, we have gathered here again to discuss on a very important topic, that is pleasure of language learning. That's a very important topic and the route which is to be taken care of in the schools. We'll discuss about what are the things which we can have in language learning. I'd like to introduce you to the very special guest today present from the different parts of the country. First of all, we have Baljeet Kaur Sethi ma'am. She is the principal of a very prestigious institution in Meerut, that is Wisdom Global School. Welcome, Baljeet ma'am, to the
Thank you,
show.
sir. Thank you.
We are happy. Thank you so much for coming to the show. Ma'am, please let us know about your educational journey. Did you came into this profession by chance or by choice? And
Yes.
how did you rose from a teacher to a principal?
All right. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be connected here with all of you. And as sir has asked me about my journey of learning, I am a localite from Meerut only. I have done my schooling from Meerut, studied in a convent, and I was very fond of studying since beginning. So even after my wedding, because when I got married, I was just 19 years pursuing my BCom second year. But since I was highly fond of learning, so once into the family life, after 5-6 years, I again started my education. Then I completed my this post graduation, did B.Ed, and then wanted to be doctorate in management. So my main subject is accounting and finance. And then I appeared for this PhD entrance and somehow fortunately got through it. And thus I'm PhD in management and finance. And I am a teacher by choice, not by chance. I am a passionate teacher. I always love teaching. And once I was into teaching, I got motivation, got appreciation by my seniors always. And I reached to this level. So it was a reward of my hard work and my passion and acknowledgement of my seniors.
So from which school did you started, ma'am, as a teacher?
I started with the Guru Tegh Bahadur Public School. It is a very renowned school in Meerut. And after that, I joined this Meerut Public School of for girls. Then I joined an IB and Cambridge school. We were the first IB and Cambridge school in Uttar Pradesh. And it was a big challenge for us to run an IB school in a city like Meerut. So I joined Vidya Global School and worked for 11 years with IB and Cambridge curriculum. I joined as a teacher, but then I was promoted as a IB PYP coordinator. After that, I took up the responsibility of the CI coordinator, worked as examinations officer. Then I was promoted to the post of vice principal. Then in 2019, I switched from Vidya Global and I moved to Noida to Prometheus School. Then unfortunately, due to COVID and all, I had to come back to my city, Meerut. But yes, again, I was fortunate enough, got an opportunity in Wisdom Global School, joined there as a founder principal. So we started this school in 2020. This is the third session of the school. And by God's grace, we are doing fabulous in the city.
Amazing, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming. And you have a wonderful experience of different schools and boards also for sure. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
And next, we have Mr. Manoj Joshi. Sir, he is the principal of Ved Dhara Global School. That is also a very famous school in Kangra, that is in Himachal Pradesh. Welcome, Manoj sir. Thank you so much for coming, Manoj sir. Manoj sir, we will also, because you're the first time you have come over on the show, please let us know about your educational journey.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Chandhok sir, for having me on your famous talk show. I'm sure every principal looks forward to this opportunity when, one would get invite from Chandhok sir and be here with other esteemed principals. So it's a joy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I would like to begin with, my background. That is, I have been basically a physics student and physics teacher. So I'm originally from Uttarakhand. And my hometown is a very small place in district Chamoli of Uttarakhand, and the name of the place is Gopeshwar. So all my schooling, college, education is from Gopeshwar. And I started my teaching career at Dehradun. I worked with a few schools as a part-time physics teacher. Then formally I joined a school, Children's Academy Dehradun, which is nearly 70 years old institution now. So I started as a physics teacher over there. But the major, breakthrough in my career was joining Ashok Hall Girls Residential School, that is in Almora, Uttarakhand. It's a residential school which is run by Birla Education Trust. So I worked as a physics teacher over there for 7 years, and it was there that I realized that I was meant to be a teacher. Coming back to your second question, that whether it was by chance or by choice, it was always by choice. Because during my masters I realized that it is the kind of thing which I would enjoy, and initially I wanted to give it a try. But as I the kind of thing was like, as I tasted it, so it felt very kind of joyful. And I worked as a physics teacher for more than 10 years before starting as a principal. So I would say that when I was into third or fourth year of my career, I was interested with many administrative responsibilities by my principals. It is then that I realized that there were certain skills which were kind of noticed by my seniors, and I think I had acumen for administrative work. So I got involved into it. I learned, with many senior people. I worked with Birla Education Trust. Then, like ma'am is working with Shri Ram. For 1 year, I worked with Confluence Word School as HOD Science and Physics teacher in Rudrapur, Uttarakhand. It was also, Shri Educare Limited franchisee school. So after that, I joined, GP Group. They have like a power plant at Joshimath, Uttarakhand. So it was the school which was in the campus. So GP Vidya Mandir. So I worked as a principal over there, got the school affiliated to, secondary and senior secondary level. It was there we won the national prize of Swachh Vidyalaya Puraskar from Ministry of Education. So 52 schools from India were awarded. And I proudly share that we were, the only school from Uttarakhand which won the award. So that was, of course, a great learning experience. After that, I worked as, a principal in a school in Bhiwani, Saraswati Vidya Vihar. And that is also a prestigious institution which has a strength of more than 2,000 students. And then I came to Himachal. Here, I'm working as principal in Veddhara Global School, which is situated in district Kangra. This is also, a school which is deeply rooted in Indian culture. And Jaswinder sir would understand when I say that we have Sanskrit as third language from class 1 itself.
Very good, sir.
Very good.
So that is to, of course, to give advantage to children, but at the same time to promote Indian culture, to promote Indian knowledge. So
amazing, sir.
This is my journey, and one milestone in journey is being on Chandhok sir's show today. Thank you so much.
It is just like saying that कभी आपने सोचा था कि आप कभी S.S. Chandhok talk show पे आए?
अभी सोचा नहीं था, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm just joking, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for coming. It's a pleasure to meet you, and the values you're creating among your students getting Sanskrit from grade 3 onwards. We will also discuss about that, and Jaswinder sir will talk about that much more, that how we can get it progressed. Thank you so much, sir. Welcome, sir. Next, we have Dr. Richa Prakash, ma'am. She is a principal of a very prestigious institution in my city, that is Kanpur, Allen House Public School. Ma'am I have seen, because the inauguration of the school was done in front of me, and what the situation of the school was there and what is the situation now. I have seen that progress, that how devoted she is, how hardworking and knowledgeable that she is. But Richa ma'am, I'm knowing you since long, but I don't know, totally about yourself. Please let me or let us know about yourself, your educational journey, because basically I think you're not from Kanpur. Please let us know about yourself.
You are right, sir. Thank you, everyone, for listening in hereafter. My journey, and definitely sir is right. I am not from Kanpur, though I have a major connect from Kanpur way back, almost now nearly 2 decades back. I actually got married from Kanpur, so that is the major connect I have, and I have worked also in Kanpur at DG Girls College earlier. So regarding my journey in this, it's been a very fruitful and a very learning journey for me. And of course, I call myself a learner and a quester. Besides, every educator, I think, is a learner and a quester. So am I also. So I've had my schooling from the missionaries, and I was also there. Then thereafter, I did my high school from the residential school in All Saints College in Nainital. And thereafter, I went on to do my graduation and post-graduation from the Lady Shriram College in Delhi University. After which I did my, post-graduation, you can say, in education from the Central Institute of Education in New Delhi. After which I completed my PhD in history, and I worked on something which is very close to my heart, is the social economic position of women in ancient India. That was my doctoral work. And thereafter began my journey as an educator. So it was a choice, and I'm happy for that chance actually. So it's both choice and chance that I got, and I am an educator, and I am in this, field of education where I truly believe that, for most of us and all of us who mean well can really make a difference, because we are nurturing really, really young minds who become the future of the country, and, who can go on to be, the global citizens. So I did start my career with besides the initial stint with the DG college, where I was teaching the, postgraduate and the graduate students way back then, history in Kanpur. And then I went to Delhi Public School in Saudi Arabia in Riyadh, and a lot of learning happened there for me. It was, learning as an academic, as a person who understood the organizational structure of a school. I was involved in many things, learned a lot, and I worked there for almost 8 years, after which I joined the GT Goenka Public School in Firozabad as the founder principal. So that was another learning experience, establishing a school and running a school of that stature and that weightage and status. And it really did help us understand, that how a good education system and a good school can make a difference to the vicinity of a place. I could see that difference in those 7-8 years that I was there with Goenka. And currently, as sir has mentioned, that I'm working as a school leader with a branch of the Allen House Group of Schools here in Kanpur. I'm leading the Panki branch. And I write extensively, very fond of writing, reading, because I feel that the more we read, the better we become at it. And little bit we learn each day. It helps us, it helps me at least grow a little each day. Because, with all these small things, we are able to really, really educate ourselves. And as of now, I am in the process of completing a book which will go into publication. Once again on women empowerment in ancient India. That is the title of the book. And about, as sir has already said, about my school, I'm happy to be here in Kanpur, to be able to use this opportunity to bring about, a difference. And I personally believe that, the difference that comes in a school is through the team of teachers. The teachers are the foundation of the school, who further build on the foundation, and that is the students. Rest of us in the organizational structure are the pillars who support them. So we must support, and I've seen that difference with the way the teachers feel empowered, courtesy, of course, the pandemic, where they had a huge learning in terms of the use of technology, and not being afraid and jittery and being able to take it hands on. And that has really added and contributed to teachers who have in turn been able to contribute to the children also and their learning. So thank you so much for having me on this show. I have heard so much about it from my colleagues also, and it's a good experience, and I'm sure it's going to be wonderful hearing everybody else's views as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and congratulations for your book. All the best, and do remember me on this launch. I'll be over there along with you, being in the same city.
Definitely.
And an admirer also. Thank you so much, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am.
Mutual admiration. Then. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Next, we have Shushma Soni, ma'am. She is the principal of another prestigious institution in Lucknow, that is Shri Ram Global School. Shushma, ma'am, welcome to our show. You have come here for the first time. Thank you so much for coming. Ma'am, please let us know about your educational journey.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving an opportunity to be a part of this show, which is very prestigious and very much talk about show also. So I belong to Allahabad, and my complete education was done in Allahabad only. And after getting married to an army officer, I, by choice and by chance also, I opted this profession, because being an army officer wife, it is very difficult to choose any other career. So I choose this one, teaching as a career. And I started my teaching career in 1998 from Secunderabad. So after Secunderabad, we came Orissa, and Orissa in Gopalpur. There I worked for 4 and 5 years in Army Public School. And then after that, we came here in Delhi. Delhi also I worked for a few months, because after that my husband got transferred to Lucknow. And in Lucknow, I worked in 4 or 5 schools, like corporate school also, Shri Ram Global School. I'm the founder principal, but before that, I was working in GD Goenka Public School and Millennium School as a coordinator. And then I became the founder principal of Shri Ram Global School in 2019. So my journey as a principal started here, and it's been a great learning experience being a principal and bringing up a school like this from the very scratch. So I'm getting that opportunity, and this school is doing great in 4 years. So I'm really very happy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming on. All the best for your future endeavor in school. Thank you so much. Next, we have Varsha Agarwal, ma'am. She is the principal of a very prestigious institution in Mumbai, that is Ascent International School. Welcome, Varsha, ma'am. Once again, it's good to see you again in the show after a long time. Ma'am, everybody will like to know about your educational journey also. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chandhok. Before I start talking about my education journey, I just wanted to warn everybody on this panel that Mr. Chandhok can actually get you to sing. I was not prepared for the last episode. Suddenly, when he was like, "Okay, now we are all going to sing," so I don't know what's coming your way today.
Ma'am, this is not right, ma'am. This is not right, ma'am. You're disclosing the question paper, ma'am. You are a principal, ma'am.
Everyone. So they can use the next hour to start planning, maybe what they're going to sing. But anyway, it was a lot of fun, and I was happy that we did that. I didn't know I had a little bit of singing talent as well. So he helped us discover that. Just a very short summary. I think I am an educator more by chance, and I'm just so grateful that I got this opportunity. I set out to study management and wanted to make it big in the corporate world. And I didn't get very lucky, with getting opportunities that I wanted to pursue, and just landed up being a language acquisition teacher. So you can imagine that this episode is very dear to me, having the opportunity to discuss something that you're passionate about. So my field of specialization is Hindi, English, and German language acquisition. I've taught all 3 in India as well as Germany. And I'm especially passionate about keeping Hindi alive, because because, it is slowly kind of losing its roots, and, the handwriting is slowly fading away. So I try my very best to keep that alive, even in our school. And you can imagine in Mumbai, that's not very easy. But that is really my hope that, it never dies away, because I believe that language is a part of your identity. And if any bit of that, loses, you're losing a very big part of yourself. So that's what we keep encouraging, telling students that take pride in all those languages that you represent, whether you come from a Gujarati household, a Maharashtrian household, a mixture of households. So I started my journey with Ascent International School as a founding faculty member for Hindi language acquisition. And then, like many of you here, I grew into the PYP coordinator, MYP coordinator, DP coordinator. I've done all the coordinations. And of course, then I became the head of school for just the DP. And then now I'm the secondary school principal there. So I really enjoy teaching. I love working with students and teachers. I'd rather do that part of the principal responsibilities rather than all the other admin, but of course it comes with the package, and I'm really happy to be here with all of you. The last show was not only me representing my school and my learning, but I learned so much from all the panelists. So I'm looking forward to what you all have to say, and I'm sure that I'll take that as an inspiration for me. So thank you, Mr. Chandhok, for having me on the show again. It's really an honor. Thank you.
Pleasure is mine, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming. Next, we have a very pleasing personality, that is Jaswinder Singh, sir. He is the ex-founder director of Design Mate, which is now a Reliance Group company, MD and CEO of Wordsworth English Language System. He has an experience of more than 32 years in the field of education, successfully run 2 edtech companies. He has worked as a consultant to the government of Bahrain through UNESCO, advised the government on the use of ICT in education, passionate edtech leader. Wordsworth is being used by over 1 million learners annually through more than 3,000 schools and colleges. Launched the world's first Sanskrit language lab. He also developed a language lab for Hindi. He's based out in Ahmedabad and Gujarat. And informally speaking, when I met Jaswinder sir in one of the show as a session we were co-speakers. When I met him, so I had to come to know about his language lab. I had a deep talk to him about what is the importance of language learning. So when we discussed a lot, so I came to know that this is a very important topic which we talk about. As you know, we have the theme of the Assistant Talk Show that we are taking the topics which are directly related to the students and to the schools. So when we had discussed that, we came to know that we are running after the subjects, we are running after the result, but we are not talking about the language learning. Like we talk about everything, we don't talk about the handwriting. Likewise, we are not talking about language learning, because if there is no language learning, nothing can be done. So I requested, sir, that I'm going to start up a season long with you, and requested him to come for a few sessions, for a few episodes. It has become so interesting that I keep on saying him, because he's traveling for more than 20 days in a month. So I do request him, sir, please once in a week, give us a time, and please let us know that what actually the importance is. So Jaswinder sir, coming up to you, thank you so much for coming again, Jaswinder sir, as an expert today.
It's always a pleasure,
please, sir. Please tell how did it came into your mind to start up this project, and also tell us something about the lab, how it is helping the students and the teachers.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Chandhok sir. It's always a pleasure to be here, everybody here. In fact, why I chose, it to be Saturday, you end up a good Saturday and you start a good Sunday, after having this session. It's one place where you can unwind. I would say most talk shows are not unwinding. They are with pressure, but here there's a lot of that thing. Coming on to this, I am into English by chance, not choice. I am from the IT field. I was delivering IT sessions. I had my own IT training company. I was picked up by Microsoft to train people in the other Asian countries like Sri Lanka and Singapore and Nepal and Bangladesh. But I actually then went on to invest into a company where we were creating math and science content. So if you've heard about Educom, they did not create that software. It was created by our company, which they had licensed. So the whole thing and today that company is now owned by Reliance. I had a minority stake, but I came out of that. But the whole journey is that, we did the training for all the government employees of the government of Gujarat. And that was during the time when Modi ji was our chief minister. One fine day, we get a call and say, Jaswinder, come over. I mean, that is what his team said. And then we were made to sit in front of Honorable Prime Minister, then the Chief Minister, he said, you have to train 100,000 people in language acquisition. You need to see to it that their language skills are good enough, because Gujarat was attracting a lot of foreign investment, but language-wise, Gujarat is nowhere what is. So, and that was a huge challenge, but we were very excited. No tender, nothing. Boldia, come and start doing that. Very happy. We went off, but then we got a call saying that, but there's one caveat, that they said that they will give the infrastructure, they will give the students, we have to just get us teachers. But there was one caveat, that for every one center in the urban Gujarat that you set up, you have to set up 2 centers in rural Gujarat. We thought, no big deal, we started doing, but to our surprise, we were not able to find good language teachers in the rural part. And nobody from urban cities would want to, go down to a rural place for a private project or a, project-based job. And that's where we realized that we need to do something, that whatever kind of teachers we have to raise their levels by giving them support in the form of technical or digital content. And that's where our journey started. So we started working on that, and luckily this project worked, and we trained 180,000 students, and then it was a huge success. And there was Cambridge, which was actually assessing them. But during that project, we realized language acquisition should not be after schooling. It should be during the schooling. You have to start young. You have to start early. And that's where we started. We worked with a school, a Gujarati medium school. I'm from Gujarat, a Gujarati medium school. And we started working with them. And they used to go and attend the QCI conferences at City Montessori in Lucknow. And they used to always come back feeling a little dejected because they were not able to present what they had. So we worked 6 months with them using our software, and the results were very good. That encouraged us, and then we put in whatever we had to develop. And so today around 3,000 plus, or say 3,500 private schools use the product. So that's how we started working onto this. What we've realized is, using technology to benefit is what we need to do. We don't use technology to replace. So what we've done is we've created a product which uses blend. It's a blend of instructor-led teaching and computer-based teaching, and we blend them together because teaching it can never be done by a machine. You need heart. And let me tell you one thing, language is not here, it is here in the heart. And machines don't have heart. So what we need is we need a teacher component, and they actually deliver. In fact, you'll be surprised, during my teacher sessions, I tell teachers that, if you really want your kids to do well in your subject, see to it that they love you. If a child loves a particular teacher, he or she will always do well in that subject. And I told them, don't let this be a boring subject. Dance with them, sing with them. That's the way to acquire language. It is music. Language is pure music if spoken properly. So that's what we did. We created product, and now we are in the 3rd version of the product, which was after around 50,000 man-hours of research and development. And today we're doing be very happy with what we have. So it's basically supporting the teacher and the child. It works in the school, at home. So what we're doing is giving a child ample time to practice their privacy. Not everybody wants to speak to the others, in front of others. So till the time, they get that confidence, and then it's all platform. It is based on an international framework known as CEFR, which if you're all who are from CBSE school, CBSE is going the CEFR ways. If you know about the 10th standard content, ma'am, you talked about English. So now they've added things which were taught in MBA now and 10th standard, like writing analytical paragraphs or creative writing or blog writing and all that. So what we've done is we've created that because teachers will teach the way they were taught. They need to be supported. And there is no training after becoming a teacher, right? I mean, for management, you get trained, but what about a language teacher? So we thought, get something so that they work on it. And then we also add the pedagogy part and do that. So that together is what works. It is not only technology. The teacher component is very, very important there.
You're absolutely right, sir, because language learning is needed from the very root, from the very beginning, maybe from the pre-primary classes only. And it is also been seen in many, many of the schools that if you don't have an English teacher, you can put anyone into as an English teacher from grade 1 to 8. It happens in many schools, ma'am. There are, we in India, we have different type of schools, the category type of, you can take A, B, and C. This is happening. So when they are not knowing anything, their pronunciation or their way of teaching is not good. That is wrong is going to the students also. So now after pandemic, the only positive thing which happened after the pandemic was that the technology came 10 years at least before it had to come. And these type of tools, AI-based tools have come, which are able to help the students, help the teachers also to perform much better. It is for sure that because when the computers came, when these ATM machines came, the old people who were there in the banks, we saw that they were not ready to change themselves. They were thrown out. Either they changed themselves or that they were thrown out. And this is going to happen after some time also. I think everybody will agree that after a few years, there will be no books even. The children will be studying from the teachers to be through a tablet or a laptop, some whatever a device it is. But the technology will remain for sure. Thank you so much, Jaswinder sir, that you have brought such a wonderful thing and you are working it since long. It's not that you came after the pandemic. Many people came up with these type of things after the pandemic, but the things you have created, hats off to you. And that is why I think some state governments are also working up
5
with you.
governments. We recently got Himachal also. So it's Delhi, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Karnataka, Indian Army, and Himachal. So we're working with all these governments in promoting the language things there.
Right. That's wonderful, sir, because I had seen that effect in the schools where already this has been applied, that so much help the students and the teachers are also getting for sure. Thank you so much, sir, and welcome. And thank you so much for coming. We are in shortage of time. And I'll be needing a precise answer from all the guests. We'll come up to the first round. The comment we'll be needing from Baljeet Kaur ma'am. Ma'am, we want to know your views on the saying that language learning is the basic necessity for people to communicate with each other and build relationship.
Obviously, sir, if I would say start with, we know man is a social animal. And how do we socialize? We socialize by communication. That's very important. So initially, when language was not developed in the ancient times, people started communicating with sign language. Then gradually that sign language developed into words, sentences, and people started communicating their own way. So it is very highly required that language is a means of communication. It is a channel between two people, a group of people. Now, different species communicate in their own way, even birds, animals. Every species has its own mode of communication. So we human beings have developed a language system, different languages around different places of the world. So that is what is helping us to build relationships. Now, when we talk about languages, we say it's learning language, learning about language, and learning through language. So once we learn language, then we use language as a tool to explore, to find out, to express, and to build relationships. So it's not only a subject, it's actually a tool to communicate, a tool to get connected. Now, there can be, times when people have some, disrupts among each other, and they have to, sort out those things. How can they do that? With the use of words, with the use of appropriate words, using polite words, talking to each other, expressing their point, expressing their perspective. How can it happen? It can happen only through use of appropriate language. Even when a child is born, he cries. Now, the mother only knows why is the child crying. He's crying for milk or is he crying for something else? Gradually, the child starts knowing the language, the family that the child is born in. We can very easily see now when sometimes the parents come to us for admissions and all. So we find that there are some students who can easily communicate in English or who can easily communicate in Hindi. Why it happens? Because it depends on the family background. Because the child understands. When the parents say that itna chota bacha, we don't think he'll understand English. So in the primary classes, ma'am, please start teaching through Hindi. My child is able to understand Hindi. So we tell them that the child understands. When a child is born, when he is 1 year old, even then he understands the language of the house, whatever language you are using. So gradually the children love, learn language, and obviously that language they use to express. So language definitely it helps us to build relationships. Unless there's no language, how can we, make connections with different people? So language is absolutely required. Yeah.
Right, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. But you can say also that if there is no language learning, there can be no communication.
No communication, no connection between people.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. We'll come up to Manoj Joshi, sir. Manoj, sir, we will also like to know your views on the same topic, that language learning is the basic necessity.
Sir, like Baljeet Kaur ma'am already have said that, language as a tool of communication, it cannot be overemphasized. It is, definitely, a strong tool for communication. And as far as we see language for building relationships, then I would like to, point out that India is a country where many states have been created on the basis of language, be it Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada, Tamil, Marathi, Punjabi, and even Rajasthan, Bihar, and UP, Bengal, Assam. So we have different, languages and dialects. To enter into a kind of understanding with people where you would be trusted, I think speaking same language becomes all the more important. Now, necessity of language as a, necessity of learning a language is, there is a saying, if I remember it correctly, that language is to knowledge what water is to clouds. Now, knowledge, what are different ways in which we can attain knowledge? So it is either by listening or by reading. And for both the things, we would require the language system. So, entering into a language system, absorbing a language system, learning a language is the basic thing that, in this process of, exchange of ideas, we definitely require. As far as, its necessity for children is concerned, it is understood that, you see, at every age, people have, a kind of language which is prevalent among that age group. If we see children in age group of 2 years to 5 years, they can understand things when they speak to one another. Maybe we cannot understand everything that they talk about. At the same time, children in the age bracket 5 to 10, or say 10 to 15, they speak to one another in the kind of language, and we adults speak to one another in kind of language. So it may be same English, it may be same Hindi, it may be Punjabi or Marathi, but the language changes as per age of the individuals who are using it. Now, children are able to pick languages very fast, like national education policy itself, emphasizes teaching in mother tongue and learning more languages. Jaswinder Singh sir is doing a great job, making languages easy for all people, and kind of, around the country, around the world. So, as a tool of communication, learning language is absolutely necessary. And if I'm not wrong, then learning language at any age is something which helps us to broaden our, viewpoint, broaden our outlook, and helps us to be more creative and active.
Absolutely right, sir.
That's my
absolutely
take.
Right.
Thank you.
That's absolutely right, sir, because language has to be done throughout the life, but it starts from the childhood only. So that type of question is put up to Richa ma'am also. Richa ma'am, over to you now. Thank you so much, sir. We would like to know views on the saying that language learning is an active process that begins at birth and continues throughout the life.
Thank you, Mr. Chandhok again. So language learning, we've learned already a lot about the language necessity from our other panelists. Language is the prime tool for communication. Even those who are unable to speak are also using a sign language. So language is the prime tool for communication, and it becomes, I think, the cornerstone of, the very being of a person. The way we are different from any other being is because we have the facility of language and the ability to communicate. However, at the same time, we also see that, if we are going to another state, another country, how despite having this facility of language, of being able to communicate, we become people with certain challenges again. Like for example, I'm married to a Bengali and I don't know Bengali so well. So when I have to talk to my mother-in-law, it's sometimes a real faux pas, and I've done some major faux pas in the past where I've misinterpreted some things and misunderstood and miscommunicated, and then it becomes, a challenge to deal. Sometimes, me and my mother-in-law have sat initially in the initial years, and we just couldn't speak anything. Though, of course, we were trying a sign language. So language is the very foundation, and this definitely starts from the birth of a child. In fact, as, Abhimanyu has, example of Abhimanyu, I don't think we need to reiterate, but yes, he was still listening to what the mother and, what Arjun was telling. Language is already being formed for the child. And as the baby is there 0 to 2 years, I think those are very, very foundational years of a child's ability to learn, because a child is basically learning the language in series. If you really notice, like we have the whole concept of this language thing. You have listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So it is first the listening aspect. When the child acquires, the language skill, the verbalization skills, it's largely because of what he's been hearing the parents speak, verbalize those objects in the house. This is a toy, this is a crib, this is your clothes, this is your comb, few small, these words which the child is able to, contextualize and attach to a particular object or to a particular person. Their own name also, they come to understand it only after a certain age. So, these languages basically developing in the context of all these relationships for this child. And as the child is growing, they are able to narrate and become those narrators about themselves. When the child speaks that first word, the mama, the papa, the chacha, or the nana, the dada, those are such, valuable, precious words spoken by our children. Thereafter, I feel, all those interpretations that they have had while they are listening, and listening very keenly because they are trying to speak the language initially. So listening is a very important attribute of learning a language initially. Thereafter, the child is able to verbalize and express and interpret these experiences, and they begin to, construct phrases, then sentences, and finally they are able to build up a conversation. And they are also, language, as we, become older, grow older, and as one of the panelist was mentioning, that parents, and NEP also says now that it should be actually bilingual. Bilingual teaching is the best way of teaching, and I agree with that, because you see, if we take away the context from the child who has had, the language at home is, for example, in North India is Hindi. So in that context, the child is comfortable. Suddenly they go to the school and it's all people are speaking in English, right or wrong, they don't know, but the people are speaking in English. And it becomes a very, very, a frightening environment for them, because when you can't understand everything you could understand at home, but now you can't understand. So you tend to, be away from that context. The child is not able to then connect, and language is about connecting. So if we are able to be bilingual, the child is able to pick up another language, which is a second language or the third language, much more easily when we are, looking at it in the context of teaching children in schools as well. Because, it is through this language that we are able to literally harmonize our lives, I'll say. And in language, I'll say, as we have, we are all aware about it, that, it all would have begun, I guess, in the times when it started, when people developed a language, when language came to be evolved. It was all through narration, through the idea of, storytelling. जिसे हम दास्ता गोई भी कहते हैं उर्दू में, कहानी कहते हैं. So, it would have started with narration. Like right now also, it's because of this, articulation in this language, I'm able to communicate and verbalize my expression. So the same thing would have happened in the past when people would tell stories, and that is how probably it built up. And I think storytelling in that sense, is a very, very powerful way of developing an interest in the language. During the pandemic, I got very interested. I've always been very fond of Hindustani language, and which main component in that is, of course, Urdu. So I have been very, very fond of particular language. And during this pandemic, I thought that, I should start writing it. And I learned to write it. It was a journey, because I was able to listen and speak. And, I wanted to read and write, because I couldn't really read the language. So I learned the language, and it, opened up a lot of, new understanding that how different this experience is when you are into this, self-learning and teaching yourself to learn a language. And of course, I think at the age of being an adult, you are able to learn something much more quickly, something which would have taken me maybe 18 almost, I would say maybe 12 years or 16 years of my school education. I was able to learn this language much more faster, because I already had the sense of the listening and the speaking. So definitely, language is going to play a very, very important role, and the connect has to be built by the schools, so that it is not something which is imposed. The problem with English becomes this, that it seems like a very imposition is apparent there, where the child is feeling that disconnect from the home and the school. So bilingual teaching can really, really help, I think, and it can help you generate a sense of interest in the language, in the idea of language. As Manoj sir also mentioned, that in India, states are formed on the basis of linguistics. And literally every 20 kilometers you go within even North India, and the dialects change. I remember my father they belonged to Farrukhabad, and he would speak to my dadi in something. And I used to think I would not understand that language. And I used to think it's a secret language between the, son and the mother. I used to try to really pay attention to it. But as a child, I couldn't understand it. And now I realize it's just the language, it's another dialect. And also this entire, entire egoism about a language, that, my language is better than the other, is also something which, which should be really, really minimized. Language is a tool of communication, and a very, very powerful tool of communication. So we should be able to see a language, because language is about a culture, about a history, about the identity, as Varsha ma'am said, and all this is reflective in so many ways. There are so many genres of ways of expressing the language. You have movies, you have short stories, you have novellas, you have poems. So there are so many ways. And actually research says that language is one thing which, a child can pick up initially in the initial 3-4 years. The children can pick up the language. So try being more and more bilingual, rather than, sticking to one particular language. More bilingual, the brain is able to absorb more. Brain of children is especially like a sponge. It is able to absorb much more. And before I end my understanding of this, I would like to really tell you this, anecdote from my life. Like, we were all cousins, and we developed our own language. So we had our own language from the existing language. I'll give a sample of that right now. So we, probably at that age when you are teenagers and all, you want to have, some secrets. We would just feel so proud of this particular language. Say, for example, I'll give an example. Tharfang curfew were very much. So it basically says thank you very much. Ma'am,
this was famous at many places. Somebody in my family, they were also talking about this, that which are having this code language.
Yes.
That fa is being used, or whatever is being used in every
ra
word.
Is being used. Ra
is being used. So you're not doing anything different. Only everybody using ra.
And there is a certain, syntax after which you will be using it. So that is something which you understand, and then you are able to utilize. So language is such an important tool, because as teenagers, you don't want somebody to understand what you are saying. So you, go to that extent of creating your own little, a language where, I remember my mother used to say, what are you people talking? I can't understand. So that is why we used to feel very, elated about it. That good, you can't understand. You're not supposed to understand. So thank you very much. And I think, it's a lifelong journey. And, whichever language, you like, you should try to grow in that. And for the children, I definitely would like to say that, we need to subsequently build on their vocabulary. Vocabulary building and vocabulary can really enhance articulation. And if we work on that in, age group of 6 to 14, then we are able to really, really develop proficiency in the language. Thank you.
Absolutely right, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable views. Lot of things had to be spoken about language learning. A day or two or also less to talk about this, but we have the, the shortage of time also. Thank you so much, Richa, ma'am. We'll come on to Shushma, ma'am. We'll also like to know views on the same thing, that the language learning starts from the birth till throughout the life.
Yes, language learning begins at birth and continues throughout life. And Abhimanyu's example is the same example. And because child learns something at home only, and then when it comes out, after that, he listens or he sees few signs from her parents. So when parents are giving some kind of signs to the child, so he learns those signals for himself. And then after that, he grows up and he learns some kind of language. So basically, the child learn language as he use it to communicate his thought. And when child goes to school, he has to excel in subjects, so that he has to learn, he has to communicate with friends, he has to communicate with teachers. So he strives to make sense and others with his work. So he comes to school with many languages, like sign language also he speaks. Among students, he speaks sign languages so that teachers will not be able to understand. And he learn another language in school. It is important to respect and build upon each student's first language, because first language is very important for a child. He learns at home, and when he comes to the school, he has to learn different more languages. So initially, when we will respect that first language, then only child will be able to learn more languages. The other thing that long before the student understand explicit language rules and conventions, they reproduce and use language to construct and convey new meanings in unique ways. So unique ways is the child's his own way, where he tries to communicate with others, with teachers and with friends. But when the grammatical portion comes and when other things comes, he learns language more wisely. So students enhance their language learning by using what they know in and new, more complex context and with increasing sophistications. So I feel that throughout the life, even when we are here at this stage, we also try to understand children's and students' communication skills when they are speaking in sign languages and all in themselves. We try to understand. So it is a throughout process for the lifelong. So I believe that, yes, it is correct.
Absolutely right, Sushma ma'am, because lifelong process it is. We are able to speak to each other, understand each other, talk to each other. That's because of the language learning, the proper language learning we had. And probably when we talk about, sir also says all the time that English is the second language in India. So every parent sending to the school, my child should know English. Hindi to usko aati ghar mein aati hai. He should know English. So we need to develop a system, because the parents' expectations, because they have faith on us, their expectation is that the child should have more of interest in the language, in English language, because Hindi to gradually he himself will have it at the home with the peer and all, they will have it. So how can we develop that? That is most important thing we are discussing, that how can we develop the language learning. And basically when we talk about language learning in India, the people or the parents mostly they run after English only. But language learning can be any language we are talking about. We see that we are talking that it comes from listening. If it's a Bengali family, so from the very beginning, the child is listening Bengali. You need not tell him how to speak in Bengali, or right to you must be, but you don't have to tell him. If they have got birth in Punjabi families, so they are hearing the Punjabi. Like so, likewise, when you're going to Spanish, Spain to the Spanish. So it is beauty of the nature that wherever the child is taking birth and whatever is listening, that language is knowing from the very beginning, since his birth or before the birth. Thank you so much, Sushma ma'am. We'll come on to Varsha ma'am. Varsha ma'am, we will like to know your views on the saying that language learning with a combination of technology makes learning quite easy and perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Chandhok. I think Mr. Jaswinder has very beautifully laid the foundation, as a response to this, because he is engaged with technology and so much is possible today because we have technology. I think I would just like to start by saying it's always connect before curriculum. And by no means are we, saying we are overemphasizing technology because it cannot replace a teacher. But I think we also can't underemphasize its importance because it's supplementing a lot, in language learning today. And I'll just give you some practical examples. Of course, I'm no tech expert, but how is this enhanced, my own experience, let's say, of German learning as an adult or the students who are learning at our school? It is giving you an opportunity to learn at your pace. In a classroom, everybody kind of has to follow that teacher's pace, or let's say very often the pace of the most, the brightest student. So that has, technology has facilitated that. You can pause, you can revisit, you can rehear, you can record your response, you can you can listen to yourself, which was not possible, in many, many years ago in language education. So I think that is playing a very vital role. I mean, take an app like Duolingo. At the press of a button, you can say, I want to learn Mandarin today. And maybe it's not that intensive as in a language classroom, but it still gives you a head start. It gives you an impression of what is this language going to feel like if I want to learn. So access has become very easy to language learning. You don't have to always register at a language institute if you want to learn a language. And this I'm talking, of course, outside of school. In the school, how many lessons do we have? You can dedicate 3, 4, maximum 5 lessons of 40 minutes, maybe a week. But that's not enough for language learning. Language learning takes its own time. It's a journey. It needs, additional input from various resources. And I think technology is really, really, helping expedite that language learning process.
You're absolutely right, ma'am, because teachers say that in a 40 minutes class, we're having 40 to 50 students in a class. How can we concentrate on, on them personally? But when it comes to technology, that one teacher becomes 40 teachers to a 40 student.
Yes.
Am I right, Jaswinder sir?
Yes, exactly.
Jaswinder sir, Jaswinder sir, coming up to you. Thank you, Varsha ma'am, for your views. Jaswinder sir, coming up to you as an expert. First of all, what are your expert views or what the speakers have told about, the educators have said? And please let us know much more about this language lab, how it is helping the teachers. It is not eliminating the role of the teachers and also improving the quality of the children along with teachers.
Yeah, thank you. I would first like to bring something which is of a fun part. I'll start with Richa ma'am. Richa ma'am, the first thing you should have asked your mother-in-law is Kemon ache, and she would have said Khub bhalo achi. Right? So that if you would have done that, you had straight gone into her heart. And that's what I do. If I'm going to meet somebody, I try to get 2-3 lines with that language and straight connect. And that is the beauty of language. True. Even if little bit of that, and then, the doors are open. So what I say is language is music. If spoken properly, it sounds like very nice, soothing music. And the moment you make a grammatical mistake, there's a surge. Now, you don't have to go through grammar to acquire language. How many of us know Hindi ka vyakaran? हमें तो व्याकरण लिखना भी नहीं आता, लेकिन हिंदी में हमारी कोई गलती निकाल ले. So the whole point is that when we are talking about a language should be acquired as a natural learning process. We need not have those menus that you do this first and you do that. That doesn't work. And like lightly said by one of the panelists, that you listen. And listening is the only way to acquire language, because a person who's deaf is always mute. Not that there's a connection with the tongue. No, If I've not heard, how am I going to speak that? How do I know what it is? So very, very important that reading should happen. Listening should happen. But then it comes to reading also. After a certain vocabulary, if you want to increase the vocabulary, you need to read and read and read. And unfortunately, that is what is going down today. Kids are not reading as much as we used to read. They say if you can't travel, read a book. They are both the same experience. So our kids need to be shown the way of how and why to read, and that that interest for reading has to be inculcated. So that's an important part when we're talking about inputs. There was a point where we talked about teaching using dual languages, bilingual. Great, very important that the foundations, that is, we're talking about numeracy and the science and all that, that should be in the mother tongue, because by the time the child understands English, that is already gone. But the important thing is that does not mean, which a lot of people have thought of, that English has to start in class 5. That's the biggest mistake that we'll ever make in our country. A child can acquire up to 5 languages by the age of 8. There is no problem. But you don't teach language using that systematic textbook way. You have to give language as a platform, make them listen, make them speak, do whatever you want, but do not go the menu wise, do this ABC, ABC. No, you have to give them, make them listen, give them a platform and make them enjoy that. That's important. And one of the panelists also talked about stories. I always say, when we were small, we used to go to a dadi and nani's place. What would she do? She would make us sit and narrate a story. And we would sit this way. That we get immersed. When you get immersed into something, learning happens. And that actually makes a child comfortable with language. You need to be comfortable with the language to be able to speak it with confidence. So stories are the best way of doing that. Initially, kahan TV the? And all the senior people, whatever they had acquired, their maturity or their knowledge, it was passed down in the form of stories. Yes, stories started the culture of language acquisition. That's an important part, which was very, very rightly said according to that. Talking about technology, Varsha ma'am, you said about technology. You see, like you said, for a child, if they use technology, they can acquire a language anytime, anywhere, anyhow, at their pace, in their privacy, and according to their needs. So when a child is acquiring language using technology, he or she is not worried about what the world will think. Or I have to, from 10 to 10:30 only I have to have English or a certain language. They can do it anytime. In fact, if they want to acquire something at the dead of the night or mid of the afternoon, that's okay. Technology, again, I will say, has to be used only and only as a tool to reach out to more languages. And believe me, if you start liking language, you'll go from one language to the other language, third language. And very right, Richa ma'am, if you want to acquire a language, get married to that person. I did the same thing. I married to a Gujarati. So I speak better Gujarati than her. But unfortunately or fortunately, she speaks Tamil, which I have no clue. And there it is, their family language. They will not teach me. So they have these things. So I'm trying to make friends with somebody who's Tamil and try to get these words. So yes, language opens up the biggest of the doors. And when you start understand somebody else's language, you understand their culture, and then you learn to coexist. Whatever is going wrong in a country, this is what few people, but understand we are the only country in the world with so many languages still coexist because we respect the other person's language. And if that is done, everything is taken. So the way to harmony is language. Earlier time, there used to be a lot of fights because they were not understanding each other's language. They could not communicate. They could not negotiate. The world is to negotiate and live together. So languages, if delivered properly, they will make a lot of change. But there's a huge difference between speaking language and speaking proper. So what we need to do is to take them to that proper level, because the way the world, unfortunately, the way the world looks at you is the way you speak. And that is important. We need to understand. It'll take years for us to change that. But that has been a plus point for India. The colonial rule actually took away a lot, but give us one thing, that we are now almost ruling the entire world because of our command over this language. So I will end with this. They're talking about languages here. Talking about technology, what we do is we've actually created about 120 themes that the students use to acquire vocabulary. Now, it was said that vocabulary is very important. Yes, it is. First, you get the vocabulary, then you construct the sentence. So what we do is we use, there's an international framework. I talked about CEFR. So that has got, you've got lexical levels, which are A1, pre-A1, A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. So slowly as the child advances, they acquire the vocabulary from one level to the other level to the third level. And that's how they do it. And very important, vocabulary is context. It has contextual vocabulary is important. You can't use the same word everywhere. It may mean very, very different and opposite if used in a different context. So what we do is we give all that. We train the teachers and actually show them how to deliver, because support is required. Reason being, you see, our teachers know. Our teachers and their teachers were very good. Why? Because they were taught by the Anglo-Indians. But slowly it got filtered down, and that has happened. So what we need to do is we give them support. So the teacher delivers in the class, and then the students practice at whatever time they want. And the computer, the software actually manages everything and tells the teacher where is the problem, what is it that he or she needs to work on. So that's what a language lab is supposed to do, or language learning solution is supposed to do. Plus, multiple languages always there. So like I said, a lot of languages can be done, provided you use technology, and technology will help you acquire a language anytime, anywhere, and anyhow. So I will want to put my point.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So much, knowledge you have, and the 50,000 man-hour research you have done on all this. And then have you started up with this? You had a lot of experience, worked up with Modi sir also. Wonderful thing we have brought up to the education fraternity. That is why it is being seen throughout the country that many schools and colleges, they are using up your this lab also. Thank you so much, sir. We'll come up to the next round, and because we're in shortage of time, I request all the panelists to keep it very precise, 60 seconds, that is 1 minute. I'll come up to Baljeet Kaur ma'am. Baljeet Kaur ma'am, we would like to know your views on the saying that appropriate language learning strategies result in improved proficiency and greater self-confidence.
Yeah, see, already everybody is talking about many different types of strategies that we can apply, especially using technology. So I would start with the use of technology only in this language learning. Nowadays, whatever books are coming up, the latest books, especially that we are using in the primary classes, we are using the Oxford and the Cambridge books in our school, and those are facilitated with audiovisual resources. How that is helping our students is because when the teachers teach, they have their own voice modulation, articulation of words, pronunciation. So that sometimes varies from teacher to teacher also. But when we have a specified proper tool, the technology, the tool that is there for the students to understand that, to read it, to reread it at home, the same app is working at home as well, what we are using in the school. So that is helping them to pronounce the words properly, to reread them properly, where to have a pause, how to modulate the voice, how to express the same word or a poetry. That is actually fantastic. It's really helping us out. And at the same time, there are many other strategies that are being used in the classes, or, like reading aloud sessions, what our teachers used to do in our school time. I remember we in my school, when I was young, I had a teacher. She was a pure English teacher, married to a Brahmin family. Now, her practice was, either she took one poetry, one paragraph in a day, but until and unless every child was able to pronounce each and every word properly, where the pitch has to be high, where it has to go down, she never moved to the next paragraph. So that is something we emphasize, that students should, rather than focusing on the quantity or the number of chapters, it's better we focus on the quality, telling them how to modulate the voice, how that helps them to build, proper language speaking. Now we give them ample opportunities like show and tell or elocution sessions. We give time to every student to come on the stage. That is helping our students. So, and this will definitely help them to gain confidence when the students go for interviews or they go for any competitions outside. So if they have proficiency in language, I think that they feel more confident enough. So language is definitely, it is helping them to improve their proficiency and building greater confidence. And it comes with practice. It's not a one-day learning. It takes
Right,
time.
ma'am.
It takes time. So
Absolutely take times.
yes, and that is what how it builds up. So in the junior classes, it's more of verbal communication that we emphasize on, and gradually it comes to the writing skills. So first we emphasize more on reading and speaking and listening. Gradually we come to writing and presenting. So that is how these different strategies are helping our students. Use
Right,
of
ma'am. Right.
idioms, use of proverbs. That is, we are trying to build up.
Right, ma'am. Thank you so much for the experience you are giving us from your school. We'll come up to Manoj sir. Manoj sir, on your views on the same topic.
Sir, I think appropriate learning strategy is a very important aspect of, increased proficiency in a language. I would like to give an example. Like I had earlier mentioned that we are teaching Sanskrit from grade 1 onwards. Now, what has happened is our children, when they go to school play station that is outside the school main building, they see flowers, in the vicinity, and they call, वहाँ एक पुष्प है, वहाँ एक कुसुम है. Now, they have learned that the same flower जिसको हम फूल कहते हैं, उसको पुष्प भी कहते हैं, उसको कुसुम भी कहते हैं. They started using, Sanskritized Hindi words, and at the same time, are able to introduce themselves and learning words. Now, I think the basic, thing that we have done is we have put grammar at, a little backside of this whole learning process, because languages cannot be, and it is for all the schools. Languages should not be taught the way other subjects are being taught. That is only to complete the exercise at the end of the chapter. So if the schools remove that part, then like Jaswinder sir already told that, children are capable of learning up to so many languages when they are young. So I'm sure they will be able to learn. We have to give them opportunity to listen, to speak, and then of course in a gradual manner to read and write. My take is, when children are young and we are reading stories to them at home, then parents must also use a refined language. It should not be any random, story or. अभी आपको हिंदी में पढ़ना है तो आप सुमित्रा नंदन पंत, निराला दिनकर की कविताएं बच्चे को सुनाइए. अभी हमको लगता है कि वो बच्चे के लिए टफ, बच्चे को उस पर थीसिस तो लिखनी नहीं है, बच्चे को सिर्फ वोकेबुलरी पिक करनी है, भाषा समझनी है, और वो सब कुछ समझते हैं. अभी हम लोगों की हिंदी बोलचाल में अगर पावर कट होता है तो कई बार हम कहते हैं पावर कट हो गया, और यूपी उत्तराखंड में कहते हैं लाइट चली गई. बच्चे दोनों चीजें समझते हैं, बच्चे का मतलब 1.5 साल के बच्चे की मैं अगर बात करूं, बच्चे दोनों चीजें समझते हैं. 1.5 साल का बच्चा भी समझता है कि पावर कट भी सेम चीज है और लाइट चलेगी भी सेम चीज है. तो अगर हम दिनकर, निराला, महादेवी वर्मा, सुमित्रा नंदन पंत, इनको पढ़कर बच्चों को सुनाते हैं जब वो 2 साल से 5-6 साल की एज के हैं, या अगर हमको if we have to teach them English or have to read stories or poems in English, then why not Wordsworth and Coleridge or Frost. So we wait for the school textbooks to announce अभी ये आ गया है, एसटी कॉलरिज को पढ़ने का टाइम तो अब पढ़ना है, या टीएस इलियट को पढ़ना तो क्लास 6 में. ऐसा नहीं है. We must come up with the belief that children are quite capable of learning at a very young age, and they must be given opportunity to listen, to speak. And the more they listen, the more they speak, more proficient they will get into the language. And then, of course, we have to follow it up with reading, and of course, encourage them to writing. Thank you.
Absolutely right, Manoj sir. Absolutely right, Manoj sir. The parents' cooperation is also needed. But right now they are busier with instant reels, so they don't give time to their kids even. When they're enjoying, the ladies are enjoying the kitty parties or anything, they give the mobile to a child of 1 year even. The child will just take out their YouTube channel and they will take out their videos also. So they say इतना कलयुग में पढ़े लिखे नहीं, लेकिन तब भी अपने जो है फेस YouTube चैनल पे निकाल लेते हैं क्या देखना है. So the parents are not giving time
Right.
to the kids. That is also very important due to this mobile technology also. Right. So
Right.
thank you so much, Manoj sir. Wonderful thoughts you have. Next, we'll come up to Richa ma'am. Richa ma'am, we like to know that do you believe that language learning enhances multiple skills? Please discuss one or two of them.
Well, I think, I mean, it goes without saying that it enhances, multiple skills. So I think I would rather stress on the four skills which are seen as the 21st century skills. So the first is communication, which is both interpersonal and intrapersonal communication, because when you communicate right, you don't miscommunicate and you understand better. You become more empathetic also then, because when you are able to understand, you are able to take perspective of the other person's life and their journey. Second would be creative thinking and divergent thinking. That is something which is created through a language when you are asked to write that once upon a time story, once upon a time, or, if I was left at such a place, if I'm at the station, what would I do? Right. So it really does create divergent thinking, different viewpoints, and a very independent thought process. It provides autonomy to the child to be able to express. So creative thinking, and definitely when the child is able to articulate, the child is at the same time, analyzing things critically and logically, rationally. So third would be the critical thinking. And the final is, of course, language is about communication. Communication means collaboration. So the four C's which are there: collaboration, communication, creative thinking, and critical thinking. All these four are, skills which are, the so-called 21st century skills also. We all have had these skills as, 20th century individuals. And the same skills are, of course, needed, because these are the foundational skills which are needed for a human being to be able to lead a life of, of gratitude, empathy, and mindfulness. Thank you.
Absolutely right, Richa ma'am. These four C's are always needed for the 21st century students and kids. Thank you so much. We will come up to Sushma ma'am. Sushma ma'am, the same thing we like to know from you. That do you believe that language learning enhances multiple skills?
Yeah, I feel that learning enhances learning skills at least better, because whatever subject you are going to study, your ability to study is enhanced by learning a new language or a language properly. Because if you are not proficient in any particular language, the medium of language, you are not able to study maybe social studies or writing proper answers in science, because everything requires spellings and grammatical thinking in language writing or subject writing. So these skills can be used for more than just language learning, and no matter what course of study you decide to pursue, the study skills you develop will serve you well. Now then, when you don't know the right word or phrase, you often have to come up with a creative ways to express what you want to say using alternative methods. So it enhances creative skills also, because this type of outside the box thinking is great for strengthening your creative brain muscles. And then by learning a new language, you discover how an entire population expresses themselves and their thoughts. So it is very important for a person to learn a language properly. So like learning a language requires you to memorize new words and phrases. Mnemonic is a technique we use to retain information through association. For example, the French word for apple is pomme. And as an English speaker, this reminds of pom-pom to everyone. So to remember the French word for apple, one could imagine a cheerleader dancing with apples in her hand instead of pom-poms. So it is like memory boosting skill. You can use this language also. So I feel these skills can be enhanced through language only.
Right, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. We will come up to Varsha ma'am. Varsha ma'am, we'd like to know your views on the saying in precise. Every child is born with different ability and different mental level. This goes with language learning also.
I think, I was thinking about that question, and it's a very tricky answer. I would say, there are so many theories and research is done on what is the best age. Like Mr. Jaswinder also said, by the age of 8, for example, you're able to learn at least 5 languages. I think in India, we are very blessed. It's kind of proven that you grow up with multiple languages. So there is no stopping you. There could be 3 languages in a family, and children are doing it very successfully without even realizing that they are speaking 3 languages. I think this is completely my opinion. I feel that unless there is some kind of physiological or psychological disorder, I think that's something very different. That can take a different course, and, a child might be delayed in language learning. Keeping all of that aside, I feel that there is no age really. I think where there is a will, there is a way. I just feel that, just taking my own example, I decided to learn German at the age of, 24 after I had finished my graduation, and I wanted to challenge my brain and do something different. And all I did was language learning. And, I did all my levels all the way from A1 to C2 actually in a span of 9 months. So it's possible. I just think that we are very forgiving of children. When children make mistakes while speaking a language, you say, "Bachcha hai, theek hai, seekh raha hai." You give them that credit. But when adults make mistakes, you're like, you laugh at them. And maybe that's the whole, kind of barrier that comes to adults. They are not very open. They are not very open to sharing or open to making mistakes. I think children just do that very effortlessly when they are learning a language. So I think my response to that question is that no, please be open. Please be willing to learn a language at any point of time. There is no stopping. Age is not a barrier, unless I said that, there is really some learning disability or challenges that one needs to deal with.
Right, ma'am. Thank you so much, Varsha, ma'am. You're absolutely right. There is no age of learning, and we have to learn till the last breath we are taking. Thank you so much, ma'am. Jaswinder sir, over to you now, sir. Now your views as an expert, what the speakers have said in the second round. And please let us know about the Sanskrit language lab. How did it came into your mind, and what is the importance of having a Sanskrit lab?
Yeah, thank you so much. So one point that we're talking about, how does language help in other things? One very important thing is that if a child speaks 3 or more languages, the brain works better. There is a research which says that. See, what happens is when you're using multiple languages, the neurons, they connect in a better form with the other neurons. The dendrites connect better. So language, if you acquire more languages, speak more languages, you will definitely be able to think better, think creatively. And that is a proved fact. And that's the reason why Indian brains are supposed to be for the top sought after brains. The only thing is our brains are a little corrupt also. We don't do what we should be doing. We don't follow rules. But that is beside the point. Otherwise, an Indian person can think better, do better, calculate better, scientifically do better because of our ability, or because of the way we are. We listen. We may be in Delhi, but we may be listening to 3 other languages. In Maharashtra, ma'am, you're sure going to listen to Gujarati, and you're going to listen to Marathi and Hindi and English and all that. So it all depends that wherever we are, we listen to more languages. That is what makes our brain work better. Believe me, it not only makes you a better human, but you can think better. You can deliver better. So that's an important part that we talk about. Okay. Now talking about Sanskrit. Sanskrit is very important from 2 points of views. One, it being our heritage language, our cultural language. Why should a German learn how to read, write, speak Sanskrit? Because they are interested in the knowledge which is hidden within the scriptures. Today, if they say that the Wright brothers made the aeroplane, but we had Uran Khatola long back. We were doing surgeries long back. We already had a spacecraft beforehand. I recently saw somewhere there's a Murti, they're working on a tablet. It was there. The world has come back. So with acquiring or learning to how to speak and read and write Sanskrit, we will be able to go dig deep into what is there within our culture. We are one of the oldest cultures, and a culture which has evolved in the right form. We did not start by eating each other or killing each other. Okay, that is what was there. In the other parts, in Europe, it happened. Indian, if you look at the way we've developed, it was not there. So we are a culture which is very rich, and to know that culture, we need to go through Sanskrit. That is one part. Let's go to the scientific part. They say that you should learn Sanskrit if you want to do coding, because coding is the most sought of profession, and that is among the top professions going to be there in the coming years. See, Sanskrit, the base is 0 and 1. Sanskrit is based on binary. Computing is based on binary. That is why they say if you are able to understand, speak, and read Sanskrit, you will be able to code better. Your brain gets tuned to think in that way. And that is the most important thing. It is the most logical language. If there's a name, say if I take Manoj or if I take Joshi, why Joshi? Because there's a reason for that in Sanskrit, that why a particular letter is put after the other letter and then the other letter. That is why, and the Munis, the Rishi Munis who developed this language, it took them years and years, and it is the mother of almost majority of the languages in the world. Though Tamil is even an older language, but Sanskrit was what it was done in that way. So what we say is Sanskrit is very important. We should not take it up as, some ruling party or that ruling party. No, it is our language. Whether I am from North India, South India, East India, West India, or Central India, this language, hamari dharohar hai. We need to get into that. So if we are able to look at that, I'm sure things will work out. That is there. So that's about the Sanskrit part. So what I would say is, Joshi said, great work. Class 1, if they're doing great, because all they have to do is listen. All they have to do is pick up the vocabulary. All they have to use is in their Hindi, use Sanskrit work. That is great. You see, if you use multiple languages, you will always think better. My end of this thing is, you want to be a great person, speak more languages, listen to more languages. ठीक है अभी तो हम earlier we used to see only Hindi movies. Now do you know the biggest craze in the North India is to see South Indian movies with subtitles, but you don't see the subtitles that you try to acquire, and that also is working. So any form, acquire, listen, speak as many languages as you can, and be somebody who can think better. So that is what I would end it on. So our Sanskrit lab, sorry, I not answer that. Why did we make it? हमें आदेश हुआ था, हमें पता नहीं था कि NEP 2020 आने वाला है, आदेश हुआ तो हमने बना दिया, और बनाने लगे तब पता लगा it is such a beautiful thing. If you get a chance, I will give you access to that. Manoj sir, इतनी अच्छी तरह बच्चों को through communicative Sanskrit. I don't know if you know, August 7th, 2021, there was a circular by CBSE saying that you should have communicative Sanskrit and English in 9th and 10th, right? So this is entirely based on this thing. Mama Nama Jaswindara, Aham Shikshaka, right? Bhavan ki, Bhavan ka, right? So all this is so simple to get it. You can acquire Sanskrit also without going deep into grammar. But the beauty is, हमारे पास singular और plural होता है, वहां पर singular होता है, double होता है और plural होता है. Right? हमारे English में तो male female बाद में neutral आया, वहां तो neutral पहले से था. Right? So that language has a lot more. I would only say that let it flow out to kids. Let there be a Sanskrit day. Let there be a Sanskrit week, or let there be a Sanskrit session where they only speak in Sanskrit. There's no better way of getting onto that.
Great.
Amazing, sir. Wonderful thing you have created, the language lab, which we always in our childhood we had fear of Sanskrit.
मैंने भी मार खाई है सर.
सर हमने भी बहुत मार खाई सर. मिशनरी स्कूल्स में तो ये प्रॉब्लम रहती थी. We had that Anglo-Indians who used to teach us. बाद में तो सारे converted हो गए, तो वो नहीं बोल पाते थे तो केन से मार खाते थे. So I told you once also that we had a teacher in Sanskrit who was disabled, so we used to say, I'm so sorry, कि पढ़ती पढ़ता पठंती संस्कृत कभी ना आनी तो भूल जानी लंगड़ू से मार खानी. तो बहुत मार पड़ती थी सर, बहुत मार पड़ती थी. But gradually it happened with many of the people because of Sanskrit. The only fact about any subject or any language is that the teacher is the foundation of that thing. If that teacher will be very good at his or subject, giving good things to the students, of course they will love Sanskrit even. The way of teaching is very important, which is the need of the hour, for sure. Thank you, Jaswinder sir. You have given us such a time, and you have created such a beautiful thing for the schools. It is helping a lot to the schools pan India and now abroad also. Now coming up to the last part of the session, the me time, which was already revealed by Varsha ma'am, that every participant has to sing 2 lines before parting. We should have a good memory, because Varsha ma'am will get the benefit. She's the senior one. She already had been. The newcomers will have to sing first. So we have a very good gentleman over here, Mr. Manoj Joshi, that he won't say ladies first, but today he'll say, I'm a gentleman, I'll start up. Sir, any 2 lines, अगर आप ओरिजिनल गाना चाहते हैं, पहाड़ी सॉन्ग या जो भी सॉन्ग है आपका, फिल्मी, ट्रेडिशनल और patriotic or religious, anything you can sing, sir. Only 2 lines, sir.
Sir, like this is something which is being told to me after many years, क्योंकि I have been the kind of person जो कभी अकेले में भी नहीं गाते हैं. हाँ, मुझे गाना सुनने का शौक है, but since like I am in this esteemed company today, so हम भाषा की बात कर रहे थे, तो मैं जयशंकर प्रसाद जी की लिखी हुई उसे मैं गा पाऊं आई डोंट नो, बट आई विल काइंड ऑफ रीड इट, रिसाइट इट, है ना. वो आपने पैट्रियोटिक कहा, तो जब हम बच्चों को भाषा सिखाना चाहते हैं तो मुझे लगता है कि जो मैं सिखाना चाहूंगा, अगर मुझे आप एक दिन के लिए टीचर बनाए हिंदी संस्कृत का, तो मैं सिखाना चाहूंगा हिमाद्रि तुंग श्रृंग से प्रबुद्ध शुद्ध भारती, स्वयं प्रभा समुज्ज्वला स्वतंत्रता पुकारती. तो आपने 2 लाइन कहा था सर.
राइट सर, थैंक यू सो मच सर.
थैंक यू सर.
सुषमा मैम प्लीज.
प्यार दीवाना होता है, मस्ताना होता है, हर खुशी से हर गम से बेगाना होता है. प्यार दीवाना होता है, मस्ताना होता है, हर खुशी से हर गम से बेगाना होता है.
So nice.
Very nice.
Wonderful, ma'am. So nice. Very nice.
Very sweet voice, ma'am.
Baljeet, ma'am, over to you now.
Sir, singing is not my cup of tea. I don't
Ma'am,
think
Punjabis cannot say like that. Ma'am, Punjabis cannot say like that. मतलब आप तो नाक कटवा देंगे बिल्कुल. मैम ऐसा मत
पंजाबी
करिए.
ढोल बजाते हैं सर, हम ढोल वाले हैं.
अरे सर, you are Punjabi and Gujarati both, sir. I'll come up to you also. Don't worry, sir.
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਭੰਗੜਾ ਪਵਾ ਲਓ, ਗਿੱਧਾ ਪਵਾ ਲਓ, ਪਰ ਗਾਣੋं से ना बोलो, बड़ा डिफिकल्ट है. चलो फिर मैं पंजाबी गांदी आ. मैं पंजाबी गांदी आ. Let's change the language then.
Sure.
पिच पिच आंदा मेरी चल वेंदा आई, पिच पिच आंदा मेरी चल वेंदा आई, जिंद वालियां वेखदा आई वे, मेरा लौंग वाचा निगा मारदा आई वे, मेरा लौंग वाचा. 2 lines done.
Very nice.
Nice, ma'am.
Very nice, ma'am. Very nice, ma'am. Richa, ma'am. Kanpur. You remember Kanpur?
So this is a song which is my mother's favorite, and I think I should be able to carry it off with grace. ओहरे ताल मिले नदी के जल में, नदी मिले सागर में, सागर मिले कौन से जल में, कोई जाने ना, ओहरे ताल मिले नदी के जल में. Thank you.
Beautifully sung.
Richa ma'am, I'm going to talk to the Indian Idol people that they should start up one season with the administrators principals, where you are also going to the quarterfinal for sure, and there are many principals who are directly going to the finals for sure. There's a lot of hidden talent. See, I call the principals as genie. They are all rounders. They have a happy face, and they can do anything. They can do anything.
Yes.
You can see over there. Jaswinder sir, anything in Gujarati, sir?
Sir, no, Gujarati nahi. I would like to get into a ghazal. I've been listening to this quite often, and in आजकल बारिश के मौसम में ये बहुत apt है, तो allow me to do that. Jagjit ji is my idol. जब भी अहमदाबाद आते, I used to go next to him. I'm not a good singer, but I would like to pen down and speak about some points. There's a ghazal saying, गरज बरस सावन, प्यासी धरती को पानी दे मौला, चिड़ियों को दाने, बच्चों को गुड़धानी दे मौला, 2 और 2 का जोड़ हमेशा 4 कहाँ होता है, होश वालों को थोड़ी नादानी दे मौला, गरज बरस सावन. So this is it. आजकल का ये, I do, I'm not a singer, and I used to be called an Aurangzeb. लेकिन एक बात है, औरंगजेब सुनते बहुत हैं, बोलते नहीं है, तो हम सुनने वालों में से सॉन्ग्स का. थैंक यू सर.
नहीं सर, आप तो आप सुनाते हैं सर, ऐसी बात नहीं है. घर में सुनते होंगे लेकिन बाहर तो आप सुनाते हैं
सर. घर में सुनना ही पड़ता है. देयर आर मोर लेडीज, लेट्स नॉट डू दैट.
सेम हियर सर, वी आर सेलिंग इन द सेम बोट, डोंट वरी सर. थैंक यू सो मच जसविंदर सर. थैंक यू सुषमा मैम, रिचा मैम, मनोज सर, Jaswinder sir, Varsha ma'am and Baljeet ma'am for coming up to the show. I hope you had a wonderful time. Hope to see another season, another session for sure. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chandok sir.